Welcome back to the PPC, everybody. We're over in Brazil now. It's Dolson and Kresnik, though. And Kres, this one, normally these matches, they have some big build-up. Some of the regions have been very close. Admittedly, this is one that's maybe a little bit easier to predict. You never want to count anyone out, but this Tempest team squad has struggled to get some momentum going for themselves over here in this region.
Yeah, they've definitely not looked, I think, at the level of the other team coming in. Them and Ignite, the two teams that fight, and Ignite fights their way to the top, and Tempest kind of struggling down here. Right. They have made a roster change to hopefully make some new life, breathe some new life into their team with Walther coming in, but it got them a map earlier, but nothing really further than that. And Carnage, another team that had to make a roster change, losing Gervin and picking up Yusio Bishovindo, they might have a chance if it's not a good look for Carnage, but we know Bisho's been a good player, and Walther looked kind of like he just fit in, but wasn't necessarily excelling with them last week. It
seems like, any game that's not against Parallax, Ignite, or really even in control at this point, if you're on one of those three bottom half teams, you're thinking, all right, these are games we need to win. So you wonder if Tempest team maybe a little extra pressure here up against Carnage, who's definitely no rollover here at this point. Carnage definitely plays some of those top teams quite close as well. Map number 1, though, Kresnik, Stone Keep to start off the set.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to go because you can, depending on how the draft ends up, you can play any side of the map. It is really flexible, but it is a map you can come in with a set plan for, right? You can say, We're going to draft a church side composition. We're going to poke them out. We think they'll lose to that. Maybe we win keep, and we don't think their point tank's good enough to survive. So Tempest, hopefully for their sake, they come in with a plan, and it seems like maybe already an early targeted ban. You get rid of that Ashe. Maybe that's a little bit less aggression from either side. She can't die from keep, nor can she go in from church to come in the middle of their team and split them in half.
Yeah, I think that absolutely makes some sense there, and it's a strong start here for Tempest team. Answered back by the Vivian. So now Tempest in an interesting spot where this Victor, I think, can play some flex for them. And then remember over here in Brazil, Shaolin heavily prioritized. Some of the other regions starting to pick up on the Shaolin here as well. So Tempest team, one, both, maybe still left available here after the ban phase. Atlas is going to get taken away as well as the Corvus by Carnage. So a lot still left available. You wonder what Tempest team maybe prioritizes first.
I feel like it has to be Genos on first pick. You can get another support to supplement it later if you want. With only one pocket healer banned, you want to try to monopolize that style of play, and Tempest team agree. They're going to go with that. Genos can play kind of on either side, keep or church, it doesn't really matter, but this opens up a couple things for Carnage. I think you saw Shaolin got through earlier, very highly prioritized in Brazil, so maybe we see that. We probably will see a Nara go as well, being as good as she is. Plus, with double off tank bans, you play to dominate the point tank game, but they go with a flanker early instead. Buck into Genos. It's a hard matchup, but he can play slow, he can deny aggression from Tempest, and that just might be what Carnage are looking to do.
Yeah, it's been the rise of Buck over the last few weeks. Just now reaches that 50% pick ban threshold and then 65% or so in the win rate. So he's definitely met his mark here in the PPC when the teams have called on him. Cassie as well. So you talk about backline dive and then some ranged confirmable, even potentially some burst damage out of that. Cassie, I think Carnage Gaming have got a good duo to start off their draft here. Zin as well. Krez, Zin has kind of been that answer a lot of times to some of that flank pressure. Do you think the Zin and the Buck, does that matchup look one way or the other to you?
I think they kind of just neutralize each other. It's like you both pick scissors in rock, paper, scissors. They just end up matching up, go away. Maybe one gets the advantage, but that's usually with the help of somebody else. I will say, though, I like Tempest picking up this Nando here as a point tank. I think it's a good thing to have. If Carnage took it away, they would have been forced to go to a Barak or a Khan, something that maybe would have struggled against the pickups so far that Carnage have. Rom early is also a little surprising to me. I get why they pushed back the Inara. Tempest had Genos. Inara Genos seems to be a sin down here in Brazil. No one really wants to pick it up. But they have Rom into some counters, 2 on their side. Focus their healer early instead because they know for a fact they're going to get their point tank late. Ying's got a lot of healing. It'll help the team, and maybe we'll let Rom get away with a little bit more than he would have otherwise.
That's interesting, Ying here. I mean, usually it's been, the Corvus Genos, then Grover Damba, maybe not even a full tier, but just kind of those next 2 healers that teams tend to go towards here. Ying hovering around that 21% pick rate here, not banned out yet, of course, here in the PPC over in Brazil at least. So why do you think maybe that Ying, is that just enough reaching splash damage that maybe makes her a little bit better than the Damba or the Grover in this situation?
I think it could just be a preference if they want that go button, but don't necessarily want to play Furia. She's Furia with more healing output than damage output. If they think that'll help them just outpace the healing from Tempest, right? You know, that make up for the 15% damage they're going to have all game. Shaolin going last is surprising in Brazil, I would say, but Maeve to fill it in, double flanker. This could be an aggressive comp. Other than that, Cassie, I feel like they might just be waiting for that illusory rift or for someone on Tempest to overstep their bounds.
Both teams going for triple DPS in some capacity, one a little bit more direct damage, one a little bit more flanky. Krez, you look at Stone Keep, you look at game one. If you cover up the teams at the top of your screen, does one draft give you maybe a little bit more confidence than the other?
I think I like Tempests. I like the double backline. I like the fact that they can tear up Carnage before they get close. I think it's going to be a lot of pressure on the ROM to make them turn their heads. So this Buck and this Maeve can get in and play off that space.
Well, it's always what I say in these maybe lopsided matchups where you need to give yourself a chance out of picks and bans immediately. You can't lose the game before you've even loaded in, and I think Tempest team have done just that up against Carnage Gaming here. Stone Keep, map number 1. Yomi is what Zen is looking for here a little bit. And the ultimates, you know, the spites connecting on ROM is usually where we see some of that answer. But Krez, there's that other multifaceted answer now for Tempest team, maybe with the Genos as well. Some of those Void Grips are hopefully going to find some value.
Yeah, a couple different ways to stop the ROM, but at the end of the day, they have to turn around and kill him to really make it matter, right? If he just goes there, lives, he just burned CCs and survived in the back. But this is a more passive start than I was expecting for Tempest, but I guess Carnage took the inside, but they also took all that space on the other side and killed Ganchi.
Yeah, watch out. Ares has found himself a flank here at the double to start off for Carnage Gaming. Only Insane able to pull back one. Slowly building up now is the percentage for Carnage Gaming. But the gates have been stormed here. I mean, this is dire already for Tempest team. 1.5 minutes in, halfway there on the capture already are Carnage Gaming. Rochelle doing a brilliant job of locking down this left-hand side. You're going to have Vindo on the right-hand side as well. It's going to be the leap away, the restore to keep him in the fight just a little bit longer. One press back now from Tempest team. Insane, half HP up on the high ground. That's not where you want your Fernando to be, especially when he has to jump down and try to contest here shortly. But Carnage Gaming not looking for too much extra here. Going to slow things down. Insane, he's been left alone. Here comes the aggression from Carnage Gaming. It's a near full sweep, and it'll end up being just that. Carnage Gaming grab point 1.
Walther gets one trade, but I think that fight was all Scooter near the end. The fact that he went in, they void gripped him, and then, of course, Genos Redemption is like, please kill this ROM. Everyone turns around, and that's when Carnage comes in. They don't have the way to kill the ROM this early in the game. They need more cauterize, or else he just heals himself back up to full, which he did in front of the entire team, and then Carnage just played off that. Ganchi fell to the ROM, and the rest of everyone else just wasn't looking at anyone else to deal damage to those DPS.
I suppose with the Buck as well, maybe this is when you expect Carnage Gaming to be doing the most anyway, early in the game before those cauterizes come online for Tempest team. So maybe that's the silver lining here, but then you got to worry about Rochelle, who's putting together a nice game for himself so far as well. 6 on the streak. He's going to roll away and stay alive and turn around and get the kill. It's a double for Rochelle around the corner. The burst damage there do enough to get Insane as well. I might have just missed that off to the side. Either way, Rochelle has opened up the door here. Carnage Gaming. Prez, I'm not sure there's going to be any pushback from Tempest.
Yeah, no way. They don't have their tank, and this is, again, the kind of failing, I think, on this map specifically of having a single tank composition. I guess it doesn't really matter when you have, you know, triple DPS on both sides, but you can't really hold both lanes. It's easy to get overwhelmed, and you can't really contest on this map without a tank. Ares, I just got to point out that the martyr for Carnage Gaming, the only one who's died, and he's died 4 times without a single other death on their team. He is the target of the ire of Tempest team. And Tempest, I don't hate how they played it. I think maybe they just have to cancel the dash and then run away, just not let Scooter do as much. But with a full reset build, he just runs again, and this is why people pick ROM even into counters. I see Twitch chat complain about it all the time. Oh, first pick ROM, it's over, but this ROM went fairly early into counters, and it's still absorbing all the pressure that you'd want a ROM to do with or without a counter.
Man, so you're saying Twitch chat is right. All right, you hear that, chat. Krez, he's on your side on this one. It's Rezil 3 for Scooter, so it's going to be even more difficult to lock him down now, as if the rest of the fight was going well anyway. Tempest team 1 kill away. It's insane, just burning away some damage here. Won't even get down to contest. Krez, That one's over before it even starts. We're still talking about Rom and how good he might be in some of these fights, and Tempest team back and respawning.
Yeah, not a lot of ults used by them, though, so they have some utility for this retake. But I still feel like having the Nando spend Immortal to touch, which is more than likely going to be the way they get back in, it's not a great use of the ult. They need to find some other way to make it work, but they've got nothing. Everyone's still fully healed, and the one person who gets low wins the trade.
Insane has to pop that Immortal here, off to the side, Supiru, but misses the spite over onto Ares. They swap sides here on this one. Crimson doing plenty of healing here to keep his team in it. Oh, but that's a nice snipe from Redemption. Is it enough, though? Doesn't look like it. At least for the moment, you're going to have to send Ganji or maybe Retlaw in, but neither of them in range. And Carnage Gaming, we are 5 minutes in. Carnage Gaming, they could take this map with one more push.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been looking unstoppable on this map so far. Finally, a few of those streaks do get ended, thanks to the victor on Ganji catching out Ares again here and finding another two behind that shield. They do manage to push out a little bit further, but they have to be careful, I think, with those two flankers. I don't know if they can necessarily stack on one side. They have to play a little bit split, but not so far apart that they can't save each other. Insane is applying enough pressure, I think, to keep the tanks distracted now, but Scooter's running in. They haven't been able to stop it yet, and that won't change now with Ares pouncing as well.
And Rom just rumbles his way down Main Street, and all the eyes turn towards him. And that means Ares is free and clear to wrap around the backside of Ganji here. A couple more daggers will finish off Retlaw, and down goes the Shaolin once more. So now 3 versus 5 on this push, doing his best in the backline. Zupiru now, but Ares hits the important daggers. Carnage Gaming in a perfect position here outside of the big Rom ultimate. Krez, they have all the utility they might want to push this one through.
Yeah, a lot they can spend if they want to. I don't know if I like Insane pressuring up top right now. Okay, now they have the victor with them. I was going to say doing it alone might just be wasting some cooldowns, but they have a lot of people stacked up, or someone needs to contest that cart soon, but a small engagement might get Shapiro isolated.
Scout, Illusory Rift, both used now. Carnage Gaming, they sense blood in the water and want to continue to roll it in. Zupiru does end up going down. Ganji stays alive, but not much longer. It's Ares with a double kill, and now Vindo in behind Insane. This Fernando quite low behind his shield. Oh, just off on the daggers. Or Ares, that keeps Insane alive. Is that enough to tilt this game back in Tempest team's favor? It might be just for the moment. No Immortal just yet, and down goes Insane, and in goes the cart. Carnage Gaming, and make this one a quick 4-0.
The one tank left, Insane, he tries to do it. He tries to buy as much time as he can, but you just can't. When your team is losing that much control, you can't lose bottom left and bottom right at the same time, because your DPS up top can't help you. They can't help you at all, so the sides get taken. Your shield gets dropped, you go down. No one on that team can live long enough on the card outside of maybe Zinbillow buying you one more second.
And Krez, you know, I think I'm agreeing with you on this one. I think Tempest team had a good draft, all things considered, coming out of the pick ban phase, and there were, you know, maybe 1 or 2 moments, though fleeting, in that game where there was some pushback from Tempest team. Does this just feel like kind of an out strategy to you, or Carnage Gaming just maybe a little bit better prepared for what their composition was able to do and kind of how to counter out what Tempest team were bringing?
Yeah, Tempest, they did have a more reactive draft. I just don't think they reacted properly. I felt like when you let that ROM make that much space, you're not playing the other angles or playing far enough back in the other angles to stop that push. I think that's really what did it. You can't play reactive and then react the same way every single time.
It's going to be difficult to win as well when that space is being filled by Ares, who's hitting his daggers as consistently as he was this game. And we mentioned it after the first couple of points. Ares was really the only one who was doing any sort of dying for Carnage Gaming, but more often than not, he was taking some with him. This is the answer to what happened there. There was a little bit of cleave damage that bounced back onto Insane. A small moment there that ended up making a big difference on the first round of things. And Krez, you know, we do still see, I think, a decent amount of Maeve. You know, maybe not as much as we did around this time last year, but I think it's easy for people to forget the ability to combo off of that Midnight so well. Midnight into Illusory Rift, Midnight, of course, into the Inflame is what we used to see with the Furia a good bit. Still can make waves in the right hands.
Yeah, any global ultimate that lets you push like that is always going to be good when you can execute off it. I think Maeve has been such a sleeper pick. I mean, you mentioned not being picked as much, but every time she gets picked, I look at her win rate and I'm like, it is just climbing from 73%. It was something like that in the last set. So a pick that you wouldn't necessarily think is as good as it would be in this hit scan kind of focused meta it's doing fine in the hands of these players who have a lot of experience on the Mave, who can play that poke game. It's been, I think, super effective, and I like seeing these teams executing off of the Midnight, something that I feel like it's so simple to push off of too. You say, hey, push. That's it. There's no like sync. There's no go from this angle. No matter where you are, it's going to affect them, and your team just has to know to move. Yeah.
That's right, and I really like it. You know, a map I do like as well. We've talked about Midnight and how we really like Maeve and what she brings to the table. How about Shattered Desert, Krez? Me specifically, I haven't gotten to watch this map competitively in a little while now. I love this map, and it definitely brings some interesting play styles. You can really strategize how you want to play this map pretty specifically up to the table. So should be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I like seeing a little bit of everything on this map. I always call it the wide open Jaguar Falls because it's about out-rotating the enemy team, but still kind of controlling that center. It's more or less how it ends up playing out almost every single time. Carnage right now targeting Gonchi, it looks like, on the other team. He is one of the few controller players in Brazil on the side of Tempest, so 2 hit scans banned. Vivian, more targeted. Strix a little more general. He's on a map like this, when it's so wide, he can cover multiple angles at once. If you don't all collapse on him at the same time, that Strix is going to do a lot of damage that you can't really answer.
Sure will. So smart, I think, to take him away. Another Corvus ban this time around. It's Tempest team and take him away. So that second ban slot, maybe that's something we need to get a little bit more used to. If Corvus is left open, it's almost a must ban for the second picking team here. A lot still left open, though. Rom, most notably, I think, for Carnage Gaming, just wreaked havoc in game number 1, and I think to your point there, Kresnik, despite there being a lot of counters that he was playing into, so even though the Genos is still available, things like that, I could have seen maybe a world where Carnage Gaming go Rom first. But it says the Ashe. Remember, she was banned out in game 1. Now Carnage Gaming may be sensing an advantage is to be had. We'll lock her in.
And with the ban, I'm assuming those bans last game, I didn't think about this at the time, but it seems almost like it was targeted to Rishao, and then he just rolled over them on Cassie, and they're like, all right, let it through. Well, what can we do at this point?
Whatever.
The most they could do is pick the Buck here, it seems. The kind of more controlling flanker. He can duel on the sides, but he can still get aggressive and collapse, depending on what tanks and lineups Tempest team end up with. I do like Buck on this map. I get rolled by Bounce House pretty consistently when I play this map in pubs, and people do tend to pick that. But the same exact kind of a mirrored start from Tempest team. They liked the formula Carnage had last game, and they want to run with it.
That's right. This is kind of a, well, let me show you how you could have beaten us, or whatever. It depends what Carnage Gaming end up drafting here. Genos, so they are going to pick up some of what Tempest team had, though the Ashe is definitely the big difference maker here. The Cassie Buck, I loved that damage duo in game number 1. Definitely something that can work. It's all about creating space, especially when you pair that with the Rom kind of right up the middle, and then you send Buck off to one side, Maeve off to the other, and then Cassie's just kind of free and clear to shoot away. So I think Tempest team then have to wonder how they're going to create some of that extra space with their next couple of picks. Won't be the Rom, though, Krez. Genos Rom, so one of those big counters, as well as the Rom himself, taken away by Carnage.
And a double tank with a Genos draft, so maybe you need a second support, but maybe not. Both of these tanks they have are really self-sustaining, so they don't necessarily need that extra little bit of burst. Ashe has all that lifesteal. Rom, his whole kit is just healing himself, so not necessarily needed there. But Grover, if you wanted an answer like you were talking about, Dave, that's one of them. I mean, you can get the deep root or even just the regular cripple on the Rom while he's running to get a kill to follow up, and another Fernando. I want to see a little more value out of the Immortals, though, for this game from Insane. I want to see people get saved. I want to see them actually counter dives coming in from Carnage. With Ashe Rom, they're going to be playing aggressive, so it's a decent pickup, but you have to actually use that ultimate in a way that saves your team if you want to counter that aggression.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. It just felt like Insane had to pop some of those Immortals just to save his own life a few times in game number 1, so definitely something that might change, especially if you have a Grover on your side. You're going to be playing around some of that healing anyway, so maybe something that Tempest team will be able to capitalize on. It's a Xin now trading spots as well. Tempest team had Xin in game 1. Now it's going to go over to Carnage Gaming. But then the Maeve, so kind of a mix of what we saw in game 1 over to Carnage. And I think it's a great draft here for Shattered Desert.
All right, I forgot that the win rates are separated by region. I was going to say, now look at that win rate, but in BR it's just 50%, so kind of ruining what I have. But the double flanker, again, I mean, bringing the same MO to this map can work pretty well, and I don't even know how I don't really know how I feel about Talus into this. I think he kind of farms Rom, and that's it, unless they're looking to use Talus Ultimate to cancel Rom Dash. I don't know if I would ever do that, but it's something you can do.
Yeah.
He's just not great at dealing with getting pressured. When you find his rune, he's so much squishier when, other than the other world where he gets aggressive and gets away from it for free.
Yeah, if that's a Talus pick into a ROM specifically for the ultimate, that's a very specific piece of counterplay that Tempest team are looking for. Game number 2, Carnage Gaming roll over Tempest team. In game 1 is 4. Oh, they can keep some of that momentum going here. We could be in Brazil. They has some of the core of what worked, notably the ROM as well. There is some of backline confirmable damage maybe that's missing for Carnage Gaming, though when you look at their draft, it's maybe not what they're looking for anyway.
Yeah, they have Rashao to kind of make up for that. They have that slug shot long range poke that will help them soften them up before they go in. Put Angle, put Maeve on the other, and that could be the way to make up for it, right? Slugshot is actually very consistent, especially paired with a Genos. That's 460 across the map every single time. You can make characters pretty low before you pounce that way.
The Xin here, I think, as well is going to play a pretty role, especially in the double flank. You need him to dive into that back line and make some space. You know, Xin as a whole, he's kind of, I think, over the last few weeks just become, not even the last few weeks, maybe just the phase as a whole, has been kind of the plug and play. We need a flank. We need somebody who can get into that back line and do some damage. Do you think Xin is in a pretty strong spot right now? You think Carnage Gaming have a good one?
I think so. I think on this map in particular, he can get away pretty effectively as long as you're running kind of a whirl-focused build. It can work that way. I also like that, and if they don't change it, I like that they're rolling out with Guillotine here too. I think even against a triple DPS composition, just get rid of the only tank. I mean, yeah, you don't have 2 tanks to kill, but just kill the Nando. And then they can't really hold you back. It's going to be a great way to bust down the door without necessarily sacrificing too much.
Right, and again, we saw it, unless, again, it was changed in Game 1. It was Yomi, at least, fresh off the buy stage there. Granted, a lot of the spites weren't connecting anyway, so didn't see so much of that interaction down the stretch there. I mean, this is one, you know, I still look at the draft for Tempest team, and I think they've at least given themselves a chance moving into this game here, though, Krez. But I am still nervous, I think, for maybe some of the same reasons that you are. I think this Talus is going to be very hit or miss here in this game, and maybe something that Carnage Gaming can punish.
Yeah, I think so. I think the flanks that they have drafted trade pretty well into that Talus, as long as Ares gets away from the rune chase down being poked pretty effectively. It also depends on the build, too. Some Taluses have kind of run away from using Guts, that low health damage reduction. With that out of the build, Talus became significantly squishier, but see how Tempest decided to play this first fight.
I appreciate everyone sticking with us as we get into game number 2. First blood over to the Talus, but it's immediately answered back by Ares and Scooter. A double already for this ROM. Could gun down a third on the back line behind the pillar. If Ares doesn't take it away, and he won't, Scooter has already tallied 3. Make it 4 on the first mid-fight. Carnage Gaming not wasting any time.
ROM kills are my DPS choked. I will gladly get my stats boosted as much as possible. All Scooter from start to finish, but there was an early pick there. Talus actually managed to beat out the Xin, which is surprising to me, but now Talus has to go in to touch. No Void Grip though, but they managed to keep the Genos alive, and someone else is going to have to throw their body to the point.
That's starting to get brutal already. Just 2 minutes into the game, Tempest team without much of a leg to stand on here. Overtime will expire, and now especially on Shattered Desert, where right where Scooter is right now, is the area that's most difficult to make up. Tempest team have already given up effectively all of that early defensive map pressure, and it's not looking any better if you engage.
Well, I gave it up. It seems like the sustain might actually keep them in this game when they trade it out. Having those 2 flankers, I was so worried. I thought they were just going to get rolled over and Carnage were going to get those kills, but having that Grover respawn, that little bit of AoE healing, plus one of them being a Buck, who does not fall that easily, managed to help them kind of restabilize, but they already have people back, and Scooter wants to go in already.
Scooter gets what he wants, apparently, here in this. He's going to get the execute. Yeah, he did it all himself there as well. Down goes Zupiru. No more Cassie, now no more Talus for the next few minutes. Ares continuing to hit the mark with this Maeve, I think, so far. in Game 2, keeping up some of the pace that he did in Game 1. Insane did have the Immortal, but I think smartly saving it for later use, maybe down the stretch here when his team really needs it. Tempest team full back and respawning. They're going to have to step a toe out of base here. But I love what Rashao is doing as well. Has an assert dominance. He's locked down enough pressure on this left-hand side. There's the up-down. Rune of Travel maybe baits that one out a little bit, but keeps Rashao in the fight just a little bit longer. Knockback onto Insane. He's quite low here. Does not end up popping the Immortal, and that means he's going to go down. Carnage Gaming just brute force this one in.
Yeah, I think saving the Immortal again was a better way to play it there. I think with the Ashe ultimate already out with no assert dominance, now you have that kind of way to keep your team alive, to extend a fight where Carnage don't really have that. It's only really in the ROM's pure sustain. Scooter, like you said, doing everything himself, 5-0. Doesn't need the help, but probably still welcomes it, I would say, from them. Tempest, they have no true combos here, but I think if they just chip away, they can have Ganchi go in. They don't have any burst sustain on the side of Carnage. If Ganchi uses true power on someone who gets chipped down a little bit, they might actually get an early pick and work off of that. They can't really rely on Ganchi winning a fight with a Xin every single mid. They have to make something happen themselves.
Right, it really was Ganchi that gave the early life raft over to Tempest team, but immediately shut down by Scooter. A soft 4-piece to start off the game from this ROM. And here he comes, rumbling his way into the back of Tempest team here. It's a Buck Wild used, and Retlaw will capitalize for a kill. Insane, he's going to pop the Immortal this time around, keep the rest of Tempest team in it. It's 2 for the Buck, make it 3 down the stretch here. Ganchi stays alive. Vindo will fall as well, and really, Krez, for the first time this set, Tempest team have found a fight win.
Yeah, off the back of that Immortal, keeping him up and letting them repush afterwards. But Scooter died so early, he might have a refight here, but the Scout looks like he might get caught out, and Rom Talus, matchup is decent, but Rom could just run away like that.
Can he get in time for a touch? He does. Overtime is on in favor of Tempest team here. Midnight, oh, right then. Paused out by Ares. You gotta be kidding me, right as this fight is about to break out. But this is it for Carnage Gaming. Not, of course, for the map. I'm, not all doom and gloom just yet. But the push back in, it has to happen now, and I guess a good way to start it off is with a Midnight.
Yeah, it's the best way, I think, to potentially win this refight. Really unfortunate boss timing, though, like you mentioned from Ares.
Come on, Ares!
Staring down the Talus. One of them is going to come away from this, but Ares might just see this and get out of there. Let the chaos happen. If Talus isn't fighting up front, that's a pretty good amount of damage kind of out of there, especially if Carnage can find that Cassie Xin, Buck, excuse me, decent damage, but this map's pretty big. He's not hitting for that full burst every single time. You can range him, and that might be the way that Carnage managed to win this refight if they just keep their distance. The ROM is in. ROM's going to be absorbing fire. They should be able to trade before that ROM goes down.
Well, we join back in. Ganchi wins the one-on-one, but Crimson makes it a 2 versus 1. 2 for 2 trade so far. Carnage Gaming are the ones in slight control of the point as we stand. Tempest team held on to a couple of the big ultimates there. True power could be used to re-engage on the fight. There's a whirlwind as well to maybe save the day. Also, ROM ultimate on the backside. Ganchi makes his way into the backline. Rune of Travel exfils him from this fight. No damage, no kills to be found from the Talus ultimate this time. Whirlwind now used. Retlaw finds an opening. Up, down, onto Ares. Gets the kill, but Rashao is traded back with one of his own, but it's an assert dominance back off of cooldown now. Vindo continuing to control space now onto the point here against all odds. It looks like Carnage Gaming are going to lock down their 3rd point.
What a retake by them at the very end of that. I also don't know if I like the true power that Tempest did. I think that could have been an opening for them, but Ganchi just goes in alone and into the entire team. No one really walks off of it because not a single member of Carnage can kill, of Tempest can kill Scooter. He's just standing on the point in front of all of them. They have a Cassie, they have a Buck, and he just takes all that damage and says, all right, well, bye. There's nothing else you can do to me. I'll just stay here as this stalwart presence, and he's actually being this front line they just can't push past.
Well, now Tempest team, they've used basically everything on that mid. So did Carnage Gaming, to be fair, but now not a lot, except for the ultimate starting to come back online to try to defend not only this point, but this game. It's a Scout used now by Tempest team. Carnage Gaming might just take that as an, okay, we'll back off, take a breather for a second. It looks like that's exactly what will happen here. Zupiru wins the one-on-one with Rashao, so that's important in slowing down this game. It's a double kill. The Cassie finds some space for really the first time so far here this game. Now pretty big stagger as Carnage Gaming are going to have to break through the mid once more.
Yeah, Shapiro getting all the cleanup kills there, but they have to be careful how split they are. Look at this. They don't realize who's on the right side. Shapiro getting really low, and now he's going to get collapsed on.
You know, he's just yelling at his teammates, I can't see anything, and then he dies, and then he says, I'm dead, and that's about all the comms I imagine Tempest team got there. It is a near full-on sweep, but just one. That's Retlaw able to stay alive as the Buck will retreat his way back into base. And that's just a couple of ultimates used by Carnage Gaming. There's still Cataclysm through time and space available for Carnage Gaming. A good combo there could just spell the end of this one. It's been a lot of Insane trying to stay alive, and he's going to have to use the Immortal here if he wants to do so. Pops the Immortal, stays alive. Caught in Ganchi, but Carnage Gaming have backed off just enough. Now the Immortal has timed out, and Ganchi has to Rune of Travel his way back to safety. Retlaw goes down. It's Vindo who finds the kill here. Now Insane at half HP, back behind his shield. Ganchi dashes his way away from this one. No ultimates except True Power. Up, down, onto Ganchi. Can he get back into base? He can, but Insane can't do the same. Through time and space is going to buy some of that space, and Carnage Gaming capitalize, and they make this one a back-to-back win.
Yeah, that assert dominance in that back left corner has been getting them those fights every single time. He just goes there, they can't walk out the left, they're forced into one lane, and then the poke just ends up getting them the fight, and Scooter 1v5 doing it all himself, 8-2 on Carnage. That ROM continues to be valuable, and I'd really like Tempest, I think, to take a look at it, because it seems like to be it's a real problem for them.
Yeah, at this point, if you're not going to pick the ROM, I think he might just need to be banned out. Yeah, you know, 1v5 didn't do the most damage, actually, right where you expect him to be, down beneath Ares. Rashao did more damage than him, but, you know, Scooter was doing all the killing. That's really what matters. My name is in the kill feed more often, so thumbs up, I think, for me on that side. I mean, all jokes aside, though, Krez, I mean, it's now back-to-back games where we're almost saying the same thing that we did in game number 1, where Scooter just kind of walks his way in. I mean, this replay is a perfect example where he's just gunning down everyone, and there's no reply from Tempest team.
How can they really, like, even if they see him that early in the game, he can do so much, they have to just choose to not fight him. But when Scooter plants himself dead center in the middle of your team, you can't do anything about it. But that's just good team play, right? That's just actually executing off of a ROM getting aggressive, and why he seems so much more lethal in competitive in the PPC and PCML than he ever has in your ranked queues.
Back-to-back 4-0s now for Carnage Gaming. We are already on set point. Into Jaguar Falls we will go. Another map where ROM can find some value, and maybe to our previous point, Krez, Jaguar Falls is still an area where Tempest team might need to consider banning out this ROM for the first time in the set.
Yeah, that and the Atlas, I think, if they want to go that way, but it'll be the Ashe instead. Rashao looked solid on that Ashe, but I don't know if he was necessarily that crucial to the win. He could have done that maybe on some other off-tanks, but Ashe Slugshot looked good on a wide map like that, and Carnage will stick to their guns and deny the guns from Tempest. Vivian, I think it just makes sense to ban. We saw it lose a couple times in Europe earlier today, but I feel like that was very much just how the teams played around it. They don't want to have to execute that specific style, but ROM back in the ban column, unless they first pick Atlas, though, this opens that back up for Rashao if it makes it back to the second rotation.
Notable lack of Inara here in this set as well. It just sort of coming to my mind where haven't seen, it's really been the Fernando prioritized over the Inara up to this point. Corvus, of course, is going to fill that last ban slot for Carnage Gaming this time. So the Atlas has been consistently banned up to this point throughout this set. He's going to swap spots with ROM, and to your point there, I think, Krez, maybe that lends us to believe that Tempest team are going to take away the Atlas, but instead, the survivability of the Inara is a little bit more attractive.
On a map like Jaguar Falls, I think that makes sense, and it also could just be that maybe they don't have a super talented Atlas player. He's a kind of complicated frontline. You can't just pick him up and be like, oh yeah, I'm the best Atlas ever. It's just not something you can do with that character, but Carnage Gaming, they have Rashao. He's been looking great on it, so pick it up on this map. You can run Deja Vu, get some great around corner rewinds on a map that's so choky and full of these tight little buildings that you can hide inside. Having Deja Vu, it can do a lot to a team. Pull them all back in and get some free kills.
That's right. Those AoE setbacks very strong here on Jaguar Falls. You know, usually we talk about space control on a map like this, more surrounding the blaster conversations, things like that. But definitely now with Atlas having the ability to lock down a couple of targets at will, definitely strong here. Grover, good, I think, for Tempest team. A lot of the fighting you're going to be due. Kind of the same point, but now applied to healers. I think Grover, a fantastic pickup to keep that Inara alive a little bit longer. And then Buck continues to see play. Win rate has dropped from 65 down to 64% thanks to that previous game. But still at a strong spot, Krez, to maybe make a splash here on Jag Falls.
Yeah, Tempest have a great sustain comp right now. I mean, Inara Grover Buck, I don't think you could ask for a better slow comp than that at the very beginning, because Buck can also get aggressive when it comes down to it. But Carnage have a solid answer, I think, so far with the Atlas. Zin and Cassie, I think it's a good tank, a good DPS combination that they have. Guillotine can do a lot, and you can pair that with anything. You can get a point tank, you can get another DPS, and they're all going to like doing 15% more damage, especially after that damage buff that Atlas got. You know, 840, push him over 900 something once he has that boost on him. That's a lot that Tempest is going to have to out-heal across that game.
Agreed. I think Carnage Gaming, another fantastic draft being built here. And Droxus, haven't seen a lot of Andro yet in this set, if any at all. 68% win rate, so definitely still in a very strong spot. And Krez, Jag Falls is one of the popular maps for this Androxus pick, though a lot of maps, I think, maybe every map is popular for Androxus nowadays. Maybe that's a bit of the spark that this Tempest team squad needs to turn this set around.
Yeah, and the Victor, too, will help out. I'm assuming that's for Ganchi to just do raw damage. Victor's a great matchup into the Atlas. Barrage goes right through that stasis field, so you can get kills on him that he thought he might be safe through. But a second tank coming in for them. Fernando, I was praying they wouldn't pick the Barrack into triple hit scan, and they heard my prayers. Nando will be there. The shield will be a much better look into this triple hit scan. Just completely deny damage from one angle and let their DPS do whatever they want.
And maybe it's time now for Fernando to have his day in the sun on maybe a winning side of the matchup this time around. Hasn't found a lot of value for Tempest team just yet. Maybe Carnage Gaming can flip the script on the Fernando going into Game 3 for what could be the final game in this set, Kresnik. Do you think Tempest team, at least out of the gates, have given themselves a composition that can win?
Any triple DPS comp, if the DPS are feeling on fire, can make it happen, but I feel like there's enough tools on the other side to counteract that. They have the Immortal if they want to get aggressive, and I feel like they just might not be able to go fast enough. It's kind of only the Andro that can really move in and collapse. Buck can try, but the setback from the Atlas, it's a tough matchup. If that connects on him, he loses his bulk up healing, he loses his mobility, and he's kind of left alone on an island.
Well, Carnage Gaming, if they just keep this ball rolling, they're going to feel just fine with how this set went and getting themselves a little bit closer up there towards the top of this Brazilian region. Tempest team, and once or twice throughout this set, have shown a mid-fight win, maybe a defensive stand, but haven't been able to consistently do enough to even grab themselves a point just yet. So it's turnaround time for sure from this squad. Point fight number 1, I think, will tell us a lot of what we're going to be seeing throughout the remainder of this set. And this guy on the back line has a big role to play for sure. Ares on Cassie this time around, no Maeve for the first time in this set. Definitely needs to carry a lot of weight, going to be doing big damage, countering out some of the flanks. Retlaw receives some healing. Reversa won't plug down any damage here, but look at Scooter. He just walks his way in there, throws up the shield just in time. He's got no health behind the shield, and Crimson will lock things down for first blood.
They get 1 for 1, but Carnage are slowly corralling them into that back left corner. If Insane doesn't get this kill, then their team is so isolated. They just need healing, and Ares is getting it so slowly. Not fast enough. Insane, though, falls in mid.
Man, these long, drawn-out fights, if you really even call this one long, just favors Carnage Gaming. There wasn't kind of a big sweeping engagement that went Tempest team's way, despite finding an early kill in this one. Now they got to break your way through. It's already 81% for Carnage Gaming. Dire Straits maybe already. Insane is going to walk his way forward, but just too slow is the Inara. Finding one setback now, and Scooter is going to be free and clear to lock down that kill. Carnage Gaming continue to roll forward, now on the push.
I just keep seeing them reset to this death ball on the side of Tempest team, and I feel like it's just not paying off for them. They never really have map control. Carnage are always taking the sides, but finally Shapiro gets behind, they find a kill, Shapiro gets 2, and they might be able to get the cleanup that they're looking for, even if they have to trade their healer to do it.
Insane. That's the punch maybe that Tempest team we're hoping for. Now Ganchi will win an engagement with Ares as well, so suddenly the defense may be looking a little bit easier for Tempest team, especially if you can hold the ground right where it is. But it's that first wave of ultimate starting to come online for Carnage Gaming that could immediately set Tempest Team on the back foot. Tempest Team has some of their own as well. 3-time in space. Retlaw walks almost immediately into it there. Carnage Gaming, a double set of picks here, and Tempest Team waltzing their way back to their own base.
Walther just on mount was like, you know what, I don't think I have enough deaths so far this game. I'll just go right into this. I'll help his stats out a little bit on the side of Carnage. Unlucky when you die on your mount like that, but Carnage now, they get to keep up the gas from that. Even with these two flankers kind of playing the same lane, Bisho over here will go sneak right past what the rest of his team is doing, backed by the Immortal, find a kill.
Now it's the one-on-one. Walther able to win that one over Ares. Scooter will fall down as well. So Tempest Team showing a lot more fight here on Jaguar Falls. Walther on this Androxus is definitely going to need to carry some more weight here around the side now that that Accursed Arm is online. The cleave damage, especially when Carnage Gaming are fighting in some of these closer areas, is going to be so important in locking down a kill. Luckily for the Androxus here, won't get caught off to the side. Oh, it's a nice wall that keeps Ares right where he is. And Walther will capitalize on the kill.
Unlucky. Whenever I Atlas shield, if I get knocked back by something for 1 second, it really is the worst feeling not being able to save your teammates. But luckily, it was still a great wall that got them that cleanup, even if Atlas could not get the save. But it's still a 1-for-1 trade. Carnage got the better of it now that the respawns are coming in. As long as Insane can buy enough time, they might be able to hold on to it. But he shows in the middle of them, and he doesn't have the cooldowns he needs to live.
Good shots there from Ganji. Will slow down the offensive push here. It's a double kill. The Victor, big value for Tempest Team here. Could be the first point of the set on the board. Walther just searching out for Crimson here, but Crimson will be able to glide his way away, stay alive. And now Tempest Team have tied up this game for the first time in the set.
They lose that first fight because they get corralled in, and then Tempest start looking a little bit better, and once they start kind of breaking the Carnage team apart, they surround them and don't let themselves get surrounded. You see as they move in, Walther's going above them, Shapiru is going around them and forcing them to look multiple directions, which makes things a lot easier for Ganshi, who's on a 6 streak right now. But still, because of that 15% boost from the Luminary, Ares and Bisho are still high up there on that damage list above all 3 DPS on the side of Tempest Team. Even with that 3, that is a lot of damage they have to deal with. Crimson can't necessarily heal it all up, but Tempest have to actually play to that on defense too. They can't, on the mid fight too, excuse me, they can't just do their defense strat on defense, or else Carnage will win every mid, lose every defense, but still win the game.
Crimson could help them win, or Carnage Gaming rather, win this next mid fight. Has already found 1 with the through time and space. Could be more if Tempest Team stay a little bit too grouped up. This time just good old-fashioned damage is going to get it done. A Whirlwind not enough to save the life of Insane on the front line. Barrage down from the back line. Scooter walks in, grabs the kill. It is the counter that's up this time around. Now Ganshi will go as well. You're missing Victor, and it's a double kill for Ares all of a sudden. Tempest Team, 2 members left alive, and it's effectively a mirror from what we saw in mid-fight number 1.
And every time I see Tempest losing a fight, I just see them all stacked on top of each other. I don't know if they can get back in. This Exile's here, Insane's absorbing the attention for now, but all these ults are coming out to counter it.
Oh, Rashad, well-timed on the second chance there. Avoids the ultimates, but ultimately does not avoid death. Walther not able to walk in time. Is able to stay alive. But how much longer is the big question here? Long enough to give Insane a chance at finding the kill, and now maybe finds one onto Scooter as well. Insane, a double on the Sonara. It seems like Tempest Team are able to win these fights, but not when they matter.
Yeah, I mean, is that just pressure? Is that just not knowing how to perform in that situation? I do think Tempest were smart drafting towards this more pop-off potential draft, right? Give Walther this character that he can do kind of whatever he wants on it. It seems to be helping them, but Carnage just seemed to be so in control in the fights when they matter, and Guillotine, hey, it's going to get value no matter what. Shapiro will fall on the side, and Tempest are sent reeling.
Ganshi has to run away. The most pivotal member of this Tempest Team defense is likely that Victor. Some big kills down the stretch last time. They'll need some more of that this time, but unfortunately a double kill from Ares will soften up the Tempest Team defense just a little bit. Zupiru has found a winning matchup. Into the billow goes Vindo, but Rochelle elsewhere on the map has now rid themselves of the Androxus. Tempest Team not putting up as staunch a defense as they did the first time around. Carnage Gaming a few kills away, maybe just some poke damage away from forcing Tempest Team out of a position of contention, and it doesn't look good, Krez, when you're already grouped up in the back of your base.
Yeah, they just need to wait for everyone so they can come out, but they're just taking so much early poke that they can't answer because of this Xin right now. That buck goes down to 1 before they've even made a move. Finally, they wall them off, but it's basically even with the amount of health bars they have, and Walther just can't win that fight.
Yeah, Walther goes in alone here. Rochelle, Ares, they both have 1. Vindo on the other side isn't going to finish it off. Instead, it's Scooter. Spite just off to the right. There goes Vindo. 4 out of 5 kills, all by a unique member of Carnage Gaming here. So everyone getting their name in the paper. And now 1 point away from taking the set.
Almost a team ace for them with them kind of juggling everything around. I gotta say, props to Redemption for staying alive during all this, even with his team kind of getting collapsed on all the time. He's managing to get out as Grover, not the easiest thing in the world to do while still keeping your team going in some of these engagements. I want to see a little bit more spread play by them, though. I understand they have Grover. I understand Grover needs his team to be close-ish to heal, but we see teams play with Grover and not fall to that same issue a lot. I think Tempest just have to retreat back to him when things are getting dangerous. Find anyone out. The DPS on Carnage dying a little more than the ones on Tempest. Honestly, Ares with 6 deaths, but they need to win those fights even more than they already are. They keep trading lives for it. They just have more DPS lives to trade.
Seems like a fair enough way of looking at it here. Hats off to Crimson, has not died yet this game. 20 Shriek for him. Will plug down some damage, but not enough here. And look at this, the collapse in on the Immortal pulled right back in is insane. It's a seismic crash. On a lockdown 3, Tempest team, they need to capitalize here, but it's only a 2-for-1 as we stand. Zupiru, though, is going to make me eat my words. Double kill for the buck. Walther around the back. It's an accursed arm straight to the dome of Crimson. Then Tempest team, this time around, able to capitalize on good setup.
Yeah, they get corralled in the back, but Carnage says, all right, everyone, get in line, get inside Jag, and stare at them over there in the corner, and they gave them the free repush with that seismic crash, even with they traded a life for it. But Carnage, they're back in. There was no cap time during that, so they have another chance to fight.
That's right, Tempest team don't have the ultimates here. Barrage just now off of cooldown. It's good old-fashioned damage time, and Ares has got it in spades. Walther will fall to the Cassie here. Vindo, a double kill in the backline, make it a 3-kill swing for Carnage Gaming. And that might be the final nail in the coffin. Carnage Gaming looking to run away with the set.
With an Exile in spawn, there is definitely no way. Vindo, they know it too. On the side of Tempest team, Carnage, the new pickup, really proven himself this week. A monstrous performance by the Xin at the end. Even that fight that they lost, he looked like he was going to turn it around. He got 2 in the back and almost cleaned up a 3rd, and with no one else on his team to support him.
Carnage Gaming, you know, they're the consistent team kind of in the middle against the teams beneath them. Need to put together some consistency against the teams, rather, above them and the standings. But it's these games that Carnage Gaming know they can win, and they often do win up to this point. Ares, 77,000 damage on the Cassie.
Wow.
In what was a 4-1 game there, so definitely a strong performance from him. I think Ares had a phenomenal day today.
Yeah, I would agree on this Cassie. Not something that he played a little bit in the PPL, but it wasn't something that he was a monster on, I would say, as someone who watched a lot of their games, but he's been looking fantastic on it. And I feel like anytime he gets it here, he was a perfect, I think, foil to what was happening here. Look at this by Vindo. This is that double kill that I was talking about before. Ares did all that frontline damage, and Vindo just gets away with that.
Right, and that's the triple seismic crash. I mean, that's a moment where if you're Tempest team, you're thinking, I mean, this is it. This is a mid-fight winner, if I have to say so, and unfortunately it was not. Carnage Gaming able to walk back in, retake themselves here. So I think it's really tough to get a heat check on this Carnage Gaming team because they look near flawless here today. And maybe it's not necessarily that they play poorly against the Parallaxes, the Ignites of the league. Parallax and Ignite are maybe just that good, but with this win, Carnage Gaming lock in their 4th win, waiting to see what happens to Ignite and In Control to see where they might shift in the standings. But Parallax still on top over in Brazil.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon. They've looked crazy against all these other teams, and against Fatal Ambition, which we'll be seeing tomorrow on that PPC broadcast. It's them versus the 1-5, but still, tough game for that.
Yeah, and you look at In Control and Ignite, just the standings I just mentioned, 3 teams with 4 of those wins, 2, 3, 4 over in Brazil, so one of those 2 teams will bump up to 2nd, and then the other will be right there with Carnage and technically tied for 3rd. So something to look out for there as well as the weekend of the PPC moves on. Krez, in just a moment, we're going to move over to North America. Sanguine versus Snappin'. What are you looking forward to in that matchup?
I'm looking forward to see Sanguine's improvement. They've been looking better and better, I feel, from week to week. And Snappin', we'll see what they bring out here, how they support Woodnock's hyper-aggressive tank play, and if Sanguine have an answer to it.
And what a weird statement that is, in all the best ways possible, where it's Sanguine, the team that won the midseason tournament, are the ones that seemingly now need to improve to catch up with the rest. North America is an absolute blast to watch. You don't want to miss it. Stick around. Sanguine versus Snappin' right after this.